Well, inshallah, last week we had taken this Dukhul al-Waqt. So this is obviously one of the conditions for us to start praying. The time has entered. إِنَّ الصَّلَاةَ كَانَتْ عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ كِتَابًا مَوْقُوتًا. Every salah has a prescribed time. We went through the different times when it comes to Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib and Isha. So today, a very, very important thing that we will cover is when it comes to Arkan al-Salah. So Arkan al-Salah, so obviously all of us pray. There are certain conditions we have to have. One of the conditions before you start praying, wudu, facing the Qibla, niyyah of what you're going to pray, those well known. So what makes you enter the Salah itself? So the first one, obviously Takbiratul Ihram, Miftah Salat, Tuhur. The key to prayer is Tuhur. وتكبيرها التحريم. Once you say Allahu Akbar, then everything becomes haram what was halal. وتسليمها وتحليلها التسليم. And once you say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, things that were prohibited during this time becomes permissible again. So one of the first things for you to enter the prayer, Takbiratul Ihram, i.e. when you say Allahu, not the hands, the word itself, the word Allahu Akbar is your entry into prayer. This is one. The second one, Al-Qiyam fil Fard ma'a al-Qudra. أي إذا قمتم إلى الصلاة, when it goes back to the ayah, when you raise up to pray, so i.e. any of your obligatory prayer, you have to stand and pray. If you have the capability, obviously if you're sick, it takes a different ruling altogether, or if you're maybe stuck in a place where you can't get up, you're going through surgery, or you're lying on your bed. In this case, سقط عند العجز, يعني that condition is dropped when you do not have the capability. So this is the first one, القيام في الفرض مع القدرة. Then after that it is الفاتحة لغير مأموم, reciting Surah Al-Fatiha for obviously the Imam. لا صلاة لمن لم يقرأ بفاتحة الكتاب. There is no salah for the one who does not recite Surah Al-Fatiha. i.e. once you say Allahu Akbar, the rukn, the pillar of your prayer, you have to recite Surah Al-Fatiha. Once you're done with that, then when you go to ruku', so now we're talking only about arkan, just the position itself. When I say ruku', just the position itself, not saying Subhana Rabbil Azim or Subhana Rabbil, just the position itself becomes a rukn. Raf' min al-ruku' al-i'tidal, that is when you get up and you stand straight, is another rukn. Then from there, when you go to sajda al-'ada sab'a, that is when you bow on 7 limbs. What is the 7 limbs? 2 hands, your knees, your feet, including the nose. The Ahnaf and the Maliki are a little bit lenient on this, but generally you want to land your nose on the floor. There is a strict hadith on this, but that there are some scholars who took a different position. So your forehead, including your nose, your 2 hands, your knees, and your feet would be your sajda. I was commanded to prostrate on 7. This is the 7. So when you say sajda, make sure you don't lift your leg. Make sure your nose is touching the floor. This is 1. After that, al-jalsa bayna sajdatain, you have to sit between the 2 sajda. I think everybody does this. Al-tashahhud al-akhir, the last tashahhud. Al-jalsa, again sitting and saying the tashahhud. As-salat ala nabi, this is in your tashahhud. When you say Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, that one. Tuma'nina, this is a very important pillar. When people pray in a hurry, they're actually missing a pillar of their salah, i.e. when they don't rest. So in the hadith itself, it tells you hatta tatma'inna, until the person feels tranquility. So that means if you recited your surahs, you go to ruku', you should feel tranquility. Not go down, come up. If you've seen some people, they like to pray really fast. They're not fulfilling one of the arkan of the salah. So this hatta, the hadith of Prophet tells us, until you feel tranquility. Tartib, i.e. you have to do it in order, and taslimatan, you give 2 salam. Some of the scholars will tell you 1 should be good enough for you to finish the pillars of salah. So let's say after reciting you cannot go to sajda, then you're missing your ruku'. So everything has to be done in order. So first, Allahu Akbar, not the hands, I'm just saying the word itself is a rukn. Reciting Surah Al-Fatiha is a rukn. Being in the position of ruku' is a rukn. Standing up straight is a rukn. The 2 sajdas, the sitting between the 2 sajda, tuma'nina, tranquility in every position, order, and the last one is 2 salam. Some will tell you 1. So this you can miss. Now the next one is wajibat. So what's the difference between wajibat and rukn? Rukn, I'll give you an example so you can differentiate between them. Saying Subhana Rabbi al-A'la, Subhana Rabbi al-Azim in your ruku' or in your sajda, this is wajib. So what is flexible about wajib is for some reason you forgot to say Subhana Rabbi al-A'la in your sajda. For some reason you forgot to say it, you can make sajda sahu towards the end of the salah. But if you missed a rukn during the rak'ah, that rak'ah becomes valid. But if you missed it and you gave salam and you left, the salah becomes invalid. So rukn is extremely strict, but when it comes to wajib, it's a little bit more lenient, unless you did it intentionally. On purpose, you just said, I'm not going to say it. Then they will say, batalat as-salah, the salah is invalid. So you cannot leave, so that's the difference. The wajib and rukn, both of them are prioritized, but when you do the wajib intentionally, then that's it. Even your salah is invalid. So what are the wajibat? Takbirat al-intiqal. Intiqal is obviously moving. So that means when you finish reciting Fatiha, you recite a surah, and you go from one position to another, you say Allahu Akbar. All of us, we say Allahu Akbar. This takbir is called takbirat al-intiqal. Going from one position to the other, this is called takbirat al-intiqal. التسميع لغير مأموم, يعني to say سمع الله لمن حمده if you're going to lead the prayer. التحميد ربنا ولك الحمد ربنا لك الحمد. There's multiple narrations. Whatever you're saying, hopefully I'm assuming you guys you're covered on this one. At least most of the people I've heard is ربنا لك الحمد وربنا ولك الحمد. تسبيح الركوع, that is to say سبحان ربي العظيم, is a wajib. To say once is a wajib. To say 3 times is a sunnah. So this is something you have to understand. When somebody tells you say 3 times, it's a sunnah. If you've done the bare minimum of Subhana Rabbi al-Azim or Subhana Rabbi al-A'la, you fulfilled the wajib. But the sunnah is to say 3 times. Same tasbih fi sujood, to say Subhana Rabbi al-A'la. Su'al al-Maghfirah, this is not the position of some of the Hanafis, so that's why you will not see them doing it. The Hanbalis consider this wajib, the other madhab will say sunnah. The Hanaf don't have it as one of the recommendations. So what is the meaning of Su'al al-Maghfirah? Basically between the 2 sajda, when you say Rabbi ghfirli, Rabbi ghfirli, Rabbi ghfirli, so you're just asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive you, and this is considered a wajib in the salah for the Hanbalis. Obviously this is a Hanbali slide. So this, for some reason you forgot to say it. Let's say you're a very strict Hanbali, you will make sajda sawa. But this is called wajib qawli. It's like something that is said with the tongue. At-tashahhud al-awwal, so like I mentioned, the difference between wajib and rukn, for some reason you didn't sit in your tashahhud al-awwal, then in this case, when you, just before the salah, you will make the 2 sajdas. We'll cover some of the details, don't ask me questions. I know there's a lot of questions on this one. I won't, inshallah, I'll try my best to, since there are more numbers, I have to stick to the topic. So this will cover some of the scenarios towards the end. But tashahhud al-akhir, the last tashahhud, is a rukn. This is something generally you have to, after the 2 sajda you cannot give salam. You have to give your tashahhud. So i.e., so when you say takbirat al-intiqal, saying sami'a Allahu liman hamida, Rabbana wa lakal hamd, Subhana Rabbi al-A'la, Subhana Rabbi al-Azim. If you're a Hanbali, you will include Rabbi ghfirli, and the first tashahhud, if you're praying, let's say, Dhuhr, if you're praying Maghrib, all of that would be considered wajib.
The al-maghfirah, this is also supposed to be 3 times, or is
The
just
sunnah is 3 times.
and one is manual?
Yes. Okay, sunnah. So I will tell you some ikhtilaf on this because I think it's very important. You see, I saw when I was sitting, one of the brothers had told me, why do people pray like this? This is one of the narrations, so it's very important for you guys, the mixed community. It's very important for you to get exposed. What is sunnah? If somebody is having a different opinion on the sunnah, this isn't something you should be arguing upon. You need to be strict on the pillars and you should be lenient on the sunnah. If you decide to be strict on yourself, it's a different thing. But with the community, you gotta be lenient. So qawliya and fi'liya. That is, in the sunnah we have something that you say and something that you do. Al-istiftah is basically subhanakallah. That one is a sunnah qawliya. So if the imam for some reason he just says Allahu Akbar and he recites Surah Al-Fatiha, maybe he didn't say it and he hasn't given you the chance to say it, but what has he dropped is a sunnah. So that's very important. Say A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim before your recitation. Basmala, if you're a Shafi'i, Basmala is part of Surah Al-Fatiha. So that's why you will see them saying Bismillah, and they'll say it loudly. If you heard Shaykh Pway, he says it loudly. So this is one of the Shafi'i positions. They consider Basmala, if you even open all the Medina Mus'hafs, you will see Basmala is written as ayah number 1, if you guys have paid attention to that one. So that is obviously, if that is your opinion, you follow, but it is a sunnah for the other madhahib, that's why it's classified as sunnah. So al-qira'ah ba'da Surah Al-Fatiha in the first 2 rak'ah, that is, for some reason you only recited Surah Al-Fatiha in the first rak'ah, and then you just said Allahu Akbar and went to ruku', you're dropping a sunnah. That is, to recite a surah or even few ayat after Fatiha is a sunnah. This is extremely important. People don't understand, so if you recited Fatiha, you completed the rukn, and to recite a surah after that is a sunnah. You may do sajdah if you drop to sunnah. This is up to you. If it's something that you do consistently, you can do it, but it's not an obligation for you to do it.
So if you intentionally leave it,
that's fine.
That's still fine.
It's a sunnah that you've dropped. Don't start getting too lenient with yourself.
No.
Because once I've noticed some of the brothers, once they start learning all the rules, they're like, oh, drop this. So inshallah, hopefully you guys don't go into that. Saying Ameen, either you say, yes.
Is there a preference how many ayahs of the surah?
So
Some
this.
people say there has to be 3 ayahs.
Yes, that is one of the opinions. But remember one thing. Let's say وَاتَّبَعُوا مَا تَتْلُو الشَّيَاطِينُ. This is an ayah in Surah Al-Baqarah, or even another ayah from Surah Al-Baqarah about dayn. It's almost the whole page. So if you're going to follow that, you may have to consider that is one ayah. So usually, I don't follow that opinion. So even if I just recite Surah Al-Fatiha, then if I forgot for some reason, I do it out of, since it's a sunnah that I consistently follow, I do sajda sahu, but not out of that it is a wajib. Yes.
For the basmala, which is when anybody reads Quran, all madahib, we must start with Bismillahir, either silent or not silent.
Yeah, so the ones, إِذَا قَرَأْتَ الْقُرْآنَ فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ, the ones that is more strict, they would say أَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ. So there's multiple opinions on this. So one, they will be very strict on أَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ because it's a command in the Quran. That is one. Even within my own teachers, I've had a wide spectrum. So some will tell you even in between the surah, they will only say أَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. They don't say Bismillah if you're reciting in between the ayat. So I will tell you, no, even if it is in between the ayat, say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
I think you should do more research. If an imam don't say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, then we didn't make salah.
Yes, this is the opinion of the Shafi'i madhab. So that is the opinion of the Shafi'i madhab. So if you open, let's say, the Indo-Pakistani Mus'haf, it is not part of Surah Al-Fatiha. Open, let's say that one over there that I just flipped quickly, it's not counted as an ayah. So when it's not counted as an ayah, you won't be able to enforce it
it's only one surah in the Quran. It doesn't
Surah Al-Tawbah.
Tawbah.
Exactly.
But all of them, Allah said, Bismillahir Rahim.
Yes. Is it part of Fatiha? Because what is لا صلاة لمن لم يقرأ بفاتحة الكتاب? The question is, do you consider Basmala as a part of Fatiha? If you do, then you have an obligation to recite it. And this is the opinion of Imam Shafi'i. That's why they will recite loudly, the ones who follow this opinion. If you have the other opinion, let's say the Hanbalis don't consider it, the Ahnaf don't consider it, but like I said, they classify this as a sunnah to recite Basmala.
Who put Bismillahir Rahim in every surah? Who did? Allah.
Yeah, brother. So let's move on. This is a class. I mean, this is
It's a class.
Yeah.
Just
But this is
when
a
you know
point of.
something, if you know something, you should say.
No, you should. But I'm saying this.
You know
We're
what
not
I'm saying?
arguing. He's just teaching.
It's okay, but you understand.
Yeah, I know this is an opinion, and I acknowledge it, and I'm even telling you this is Imam Shafi'i's opinion.
It's okay.
So, I mean, I'm
Again,
happy.
if you say something, you say it.
No problem. I have no problem. Alright, I acknowledge this is one of the opinions. So, قول التعوذ من أربعة قبل السلام. This is again a sunnah. Some of the scholars consider this a wajib. Some of the hadith, that is when you seek refuge from the adhab of nar, adhab of qabr, and can you guys see this?
If you go below that, dua is underneath. Just
Oh, sorry. So adhab of qabr.
one. There you
Okay. إني أعوذ بك. So adab of Jahannam, adab of Qabr, then obviously from the living and the Mahya wal Mamad, then the last one is Masih al-Dajjal. That is, you seek refuge from al-Dajjal. This, some scholars will classify this as a wajib. This is obviously classified in this light as a sunnah. Generally, what they're more strict on is the Salat ala Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So that is where they're more strict. So what they would tell you is after tashahhud, the tashahhud al-awwal, that is when you say ashhadu an la, until that part, that is in your first tashahhud. And the second one, what they want you to say is, let's say the Hanbalis will tell you to say Allahumma salli ala Muhammad is what they will do, the bare minimum. Some will tell you until the end of the Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. The last part, that is inni a'udhu bika, this will be classified as a sunnah. But obviously I recommend to finish all of them. Let's say the only time I try to finish only within, let's say Allahumma salli, that part, is if the Imam is about to start the prayer, then I do the bare minimum. Like bare minimum, I know the, because la salata liman, the hadith is not coming to my mind. إذا أقيمت الصلاة لا صلاة إلا مكتوبة. If the salah is established, i.e. the obligatory salah is established, there is no salah except the fara'id. So in that case, I try to cut my salah to the bare minimum, finish all the arkan and wajibat, then I give the salah. So this is that part. So if there are situations that I have to skip so that I can catch the imam in the takbir.
So you mean before, if you're praying, let's say sunnah or nafal, when the imam say Allahu Akbar, you should stop.
So you want to make sure you catch the imam at the takbir. When he says takbir, some of the ahnaf will be a little bit lenient on this. That's why if you've noticed, some people, when the imam is praying, especially for the fajr, sunnah of fajr, not all of them, they will go on the side and they will give importance to the sunnah of fajr as long as they can catch the salah. I don't know if you guys have noticed this.
Yes.
This is because there is leniency from the Ahnaf on this point, that as long as you're able to catch the salah, some of them will go and pray the sunnah and they will try to, I don't follow his opinion. My priority will be to pray the wajib with the imam. This is priority number one for me, to always catch my level best to catch the takbir with the imam. Yes.
Also sunnah, if that happened, you can pray sunnah after you pray
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah, so if there's three options or two options. So let's say the sunnah of fajr, immediately after the salah is over, you can pray, or the time of duha, when that enters, that's another time for you to pray. So in case you come late, there's preferred opinions for a madhab.